Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Yogesh Kapoor. Welcome to the Aha Moment. And today I have with me my wonderful, lovely accountability partner, my coach, Grace. So amazing. Grace, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. You sound like it's programmed, yeah? You're so good. No, how do I say it? Anyways, hi Yogesh, my wonderful friend and colleague. Thanks for being here, and I would quickly say that again, I am a life coach and a physicist. That's what I am currently. That's how I'm expressing myself currently. I like to say that you never know. Tomorrow I would say I am something else, but right now I know that I'm expressing. I know for a very long time I'll continue to express myself as a life coach because it's who I have become, and I'm very happy to say that the work that I do is about life coaching, helping people get closer to their purpose and working with people to build systems so that they can achieve their goals whilst having fun doing it. Over to you, Yogesh. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Tell you a little bit about? I didn't hear the last word.
Yourself.
Myself. Okay, so I am a public speaking and confidence coach. I help people face their fear of speaking and be their authentic self. And I've worked a lot with children mostly and some adults, especially in the CEO level or like those who like to pitch to investors. So that's my forte. Speaking in front of a camera or in front of stage without preparing is not so difficult for me. And like you said earlier, I sound so, you know, to the point is because I study speakers, and what I noticed is every speaker starts the same way every time. So that becomes something the audience memorizes them by, you see. So that's why I do it the same way every time. I try not to make it different. And I think that's the fun of it, right? How do you do it same every time? And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Um, Other than that, I would just say I'm a very easy go person. I am not very materialistic. Um, and I just love people. That's about it. So coming
So
back
I
to
guess
our,
we'll be talking about, we had a very interesting topic last time. Let me allow you to introduce what we have today.
well, yes, last time we came live, we spoke about wellness in general, but we focused more on physical health. And today we will focus on a very, very important aspect, which is mental health. I know there's been a lot of talk around it, but yet there's so many people who are, they show something, but behind the curtain there's something else. And, it becomes too late before they can get help. So earlier we were talking about it. Like, what is mental health, Grace? What would you define mental health as? Because you're the, you know,
Okay, so I love the question, and what I've done over the years is I have reduced I have reduced the definition in my own term. Can you hear me clearly?
very clear.
Yeah. So there is by the book, there's a definition that is by the books globally accepted. I'm going to talk about that, but I'm also going to talk about in basic terms. when you're talking to a child, what is mental health? So thank you for asking. And I'll just quickly start by saying that mental health just comprises of our psychological, our emotional, our social, and even, I will add, financial well-being. Now, I added the financial because it is a part, a very significant part that addresses a lot. But in all, in the best way to put it is mental wellness or mental health generally talks about how well we are in our mind and how we react. I mean, how we talk to people, how we engage our community. All those things put together can be categorized as our mental health. Now, I said all of these things just to break it down to a point where people would be like, okay, um, it's none of my business when you're talking mental health. How is it my business? I don't know. I know mental health and all of that. It's not my thing. But here is the thing. As long as you have a brain, you have a mind, and you have a heart, pretty put, as long as you're a human being, you have to pay attention to your mental well-being. So come closer. If you've been detaching from anything and everything that's got to do with mental health, you are shortchanging yourself. So mental health generally is our emotional, psychological, and social well-being.
Thank you. Thank you for that description about mental health. How do you find what are some of the symptoms that you know that someone's mental health is not going the right way? What would be some of the symptoms?
Okay,
Like
so
symptoms, I mean, not necessarily that show for other people, but to oneself.
okay. All right. So before we talk about symptoms and things in that regard, I want to say something about bringing it out, bringing the difference of people confuse mental illness with mental health. So I like to use the analogy of physical health. So when you talk about physical health, it shows how physically fit you are. How are you able to deal with day-to-day activities? Are you able to wake up in the morning and go to work and be fit physically? Like you're not sick, you're not having pains, you you're okay to move, to work, to do things. So that's physical. Now, when it comes to mental is the ability to pick yourself up again, be motivated, to be inspired, to be able to connect with other people, to be able to communicate, to be able to relate with other people. That's that part that deals with your mental health. So if you if you're having mental health issues, that means you're talking about mental illness. Mental illness is when you have mental health issues, mental health disorders. So most people just say mental health and it's already sounding like they're talking about a sickness. No, mental health is a word that describes all of these parts of you. So to answer your question, how do you know you're having a mental health related issue? For instance, you have so many mental health mental illnesses, and for what it is worth, they are in different spectrum. They're in a spectrum, so they are in different stratas. All of us as human beings, we all deal with one mental health issue or the other, but it is the degree that differentiates you from me. Let me give a typical example. Let's say I'm struggling, really struggling with self-esteem, my self-esteem. I'm struggling. It might be as a result of trauma or something that I had to deal with in the past. So I'm not able to come out to express myself. I'm not able to do things like other people would do. Then you can connect that to a mental health issue. But it's not a mental health in the sense of calling it a big mental health illness where some people are dealing with depression, are dealing with anxiety disorder, are dealing with, some of those things that in the spectrum, you can say that they are more they're in a higher level than people that are going through, what we would call normal mental health challenges, right? So yes, different mental illnesses, different ways of knowing them. So before you can say that anyone is mentally ill, you would have to seek a professional help. They would have to go and find out before, because somebody might be sad as a result of something that they've not had, something they've not been able to achieve. They might be sad. Sadness shares similar symptoms with depression. Sadness is just one sign or symptoms of depression. So if you're not, if you just if you don't seek the help of a professional and then you say that I have depression, then that's not correct, because it has to be clinically proven. So sometimes people get sad for not having money, people get sad for having relationship issues, and they tag themselves as depressed. So I think, in fact, as a matter of fact, I was talking to somebody recently and I said, I think people self-diagnose these days. They just Google their symptoms and they're like, you know what? I have this. You know what? I have this. And that won't be correct. Have you had the chance of Googling something wrong with you and coming to terms that, "Oh, I think I have this"? Have you been faced with such a situation? And if yes, tell us about it.
Well, yeah, nowadays I feel there's so many labels, right? When we were growing up, we didn't have so many labels. Now they're like everything has a label. You have ADHD, you have anxiety, you have this, you have that, blah 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 blah. And then when you when you read more about it, you're like, okay, oh my God, I have this, I have that, and it's like, and then the list is endless, and and even if you don't have it, you start believing you have it.
There you go. Exactly.
you know and the funniest thing is, there was a time where news was not so open, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it has its negatives, it has its positives. Today people speak more about mental wellness, but at the same time, when there's something negative happens, more people come to know about it. Like earlier you mentioned to me that there was a CEO of some very large company and she commits suicide, right? And interestingly, just a day or two ago, I saw somebody post about Robin Williams. I used to love the guy. He was a brilliant actor, brilliant mind. Um, if you see that guy, I think he was one of a kind person, and he was very kind by heart. And he committed suicide 10 years ago. So it's like, oh my God, what happened, right?
Mm.
And I mean, I don't want to go too deep into all of this, but the point is, we got to protect our mind. We got to protect our mind from what we're consuming, what we are following, who are we listening to. All of that is so important
Yeah.
today. Like sometimes I am doom scrolling, right? I can't sleep and I'm like scrolling one by one, one by one, one by one, and there's so many different opinions about mental health. Like yesterday I saw a video. It said, how do you know you're low on dopamine? When you scroll too much on Instagram, I mean, on YouTube or shorts or whatever, your leg shakes a lot. And when, this is, I'm like, damn, I have all those symptoms, you know? Uh, and I was like, for a second, I was like, but wait a minute. It also could be that I shake my legs since I was a kid. Maybe I'm a kinesthetic person. I have too much energy. Why do I look the other way? I don't have enough dopamine. Like, it's hilarious what is out there today. And then you listen to a diet person and they're like, oh, if you eat this fruit, your sugar will go up. And then just now someone sent me a video, just half an hour back I saw a video and it said, but you should eat fruit. It will help you with your diabetes. I'm like, holy crap, man. That already screws your mind. That already is messing with your mind, right? So there's so many
Huge.
aspects to mental health.
Very
Like I
true.
said, what are you listening to? Who are you listening to? Why are you listening to them? You know, it all adds up suddenly. Like, am I sick? Right? And then the biggest
Mm-hmm.
problem is when we don't voice what is going on in our heads.
Yeah.
We don't voice concerns. We suppress ourselves. And that is like a downward spiral,
Spiral. Yeah.
right? Tell me a story. I mean, Grace, I know you well, you know me well. Tell me a story that what made you go spiral.
Okay. A story that made me go spiral. In what sense? Let me
That
understand your
affected your
question.
affected
Made
your
me go
mental wellness.
spiral in what sense? In terms of, say again?
What made your mental wellness go downward?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so many. Now, the thing is, the thing is, what I like about, I love your question, which is going to help me even share a bit of, a small bit of my story. And I remember when I was, working, when I was in the corporate setup, I I would wake up 4 a.m. daily, and I would go to work and get back home 10 p.m. So there was this day I was driving, and it was a very terrible traffic. So I started sleeping, and I hit the person in front of me, and the person just came out of his car, and then he just saw me. Hey, you woman, can't you watch where you're going? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just, I got tired, and I slept off. I'm so sorry. And after that period, I told myself that, what's life? Working, working, working. I'm not even taking care of myself. I'm not even feeling well. I'm always looking serious. I'm not taking out time. I would struggle to work out. I would struggle to connect with other people. It was so difficult for me. And again, I had to work. I needed money to be able to handle my bills. I don't know what happened here. Okay, good. I was going through a lot in my mind. I was losing it. I was tired. I wanted to just leave. But I was afraid of the other side. How can you just hop and leave your job without alternatives? So what I did, I said, you know what? Because I am big on health, and I just saw that I was working around the clock, and it was beginning to affect my mental wellness. I couldn't communicate. My people complained of me not talking, not calling them. My relationship was suffering. I just knew I needed to do something, because if it's just one area, your life, one area is doing well and so many other areas are not doing well, which was my case back then, I knew I needed to do something. So I was, working, feeling good that I had a job, and I was, um, able to live a life of meeting my needs. And then I sat down with myself and I asked myself that, is this all you're going to keep doing for the rest of your life? Working around the clock, not being able to connect with family, not being able to connect. So I had to talk to myself. So I planned my exit. So that was a very big one for me. I was not myself at the time. My mental health was terribly low, like I was not mentally fit and healthy. It affected me physically, it affected all areas of my life. And then I made a decision. I told myself that, Grace, you have to be sharp. You have to be sharp mentally, you have to be sharp physically, you have to be sharp, round. And when I made that decision, it changed for me. And I would say, looking back, leaving that job was a very big, uh, some people would say, because I left it, I think that was when we met around COVID. And my family, everyone said, Grace, are you crazy? People are losing their jobs and you're going to resign. I'm like, yes, I'm going to resign. I've worked here for almost 10 years and I'm not a happy person, and my happiness is important to me. So I made a very difficult choice, but I made it anyways, and I'm happy. Yeah. So tell me, as we plan to round up, you tell me a very short story, something that made you, that, or something that made you realize you needed to take a time for yourself to to get mentally healthy.
There's so many of those. There's so many of those. Like you mentioned earlier, when you're just working, you disconnect. You disconnect from people you love. You disconnect from the things you love doing. You disconnect from the simplest joys of life, you know? And I started realizing that, like, I give an example. I love watching movies, okay? Because that's the only time I get for solitude. It's me and myself, right? Nobody to talk to, just the screen, just me. I'm watching a story. And since I love the whole public speaking, performing, I analyze while I'm watching and enjoying it, right? For a while, I stopped going to the movies. I stopped taking long showers. I love long showers. Makes me connect, makes me think. I love water, right? Being next to the beach. And there's so many other things. And I came to a point where I burned out. I extremely burned out. And when I'm burned out, I start staying away from people, okay? Because when you're burned out, even when you're talking to people, your perspective of things change.
Yeah.
Your perspective changes. Maybe they're speaking positive, but you're thinking negative, you know? And you have to go back in and connect with yourself, who you really are, what's going on, why are you so, we have this loop of thought that keeps running and running and running and running and running and running. And if you don't stop it or you don't change it, and turn it around, it goes downward. I mean, I'm glad we're not going too deep into the whole mental wellness thing, because I remember a couple of months ago, or was it last year? Last year, I spoke to a girl who used to live in Indonesia, right? And she tried to commit suicide. She jumped off 5 floors. And back then, I remember her video. I mean, not her video, her photo of her lying down on the floor in a pool of blood was being circulated. And this was 2 years ago, and I made a video on that on my Instagrams, talking to the community and saying that instead of sharing that photo and making judgment that her mental wellness was not good, we should be, instead saying, let's pray for her. And instead of supporting it, we're making it worse for that person. We don't know what circumstance she was in, what made her take that step. You need a very, very powerful emotion to decide that you are going to end your life, that this is it, there's nothing beyond this. So I spoke to her last year because I wanted to come on my BU community and talk about how she survived it and how she's moved on with her life. Okay. And she's like, but I'm not a speaker. And I'm saying, look, I understand it just happened like a year ago, a year and a half ago. Take your time. Right. But these were her words to me. She said, I don't even remember that I jumped. So you can imagine what state she was in. Right. Sometimes it goes to a point where we're blocked. We don't even know what was happening before that we made that decision.
True.
And this happens when you disconnect from yourself, when you disconnect from, if you are spiritual, and your loved ones, and you have to take time to take care of what's in here. I'll give you another story. Long time ago, very very close person to me said to me, you're a loser and you're not going to get anywhere in life. And I was depressed, and I've been through so much. I've been through times where I wouldn't get off my bed, and I would just be like, I'm going to die, kind of feeling. I would feel something in my chest, and I'm like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah,
I'm gonna die. I would tell my
you
wife.
did.
I tell my wife, I said, hug me, hug me. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Like I don't know what came. So much fear, and this was like ages ago. Okay, like back like 15, 20 years ago, somewhere there. Yeah. Um, and I'm. It's not. It. Why did I feel that? I'm thinking like when I think about it now, I'm like, what was I so afraid of? Even I don't know.
Yeah, you've grown.
You know. And as human beings, we should always, before we wrap up, get help. It could be a chemical imbalance in your brain. We don't know. Maybe we
Absolutely,
just need a little
yeah.
bit of B12 or vitamin D. We don't know. We got to get help. Maybe that one small thing will correct everything, right? But
True.
we don't seek help, and everything just screws up because we didn't seek help,
Mm.
which brings me back to even physical health. We take it for granted. Everything adds up, right? When we're not well here, we're not well physically,
Yeah, true.
right? I had a pain on my shoulder. I waited before it was small pain, till I waited a month till it got really bad. And then I went for an MRI 2 weeks ago, and he's like, you have a tear. You have a tear in your shoulder, and now the pain is not going. But I've at least I seeked help. And then and then I got my blood test and everything done. And it tells me, oh my God, your diabetes is out of control. You need to change your medicine. And I was like, my God, we ignore ourselves so much, because when you're stressed, when you're working, you're stressed, it's affecting your body. It's affecting your
Yeah,
physical health. So here is a very strong thing. The placebo effect, right?
yeah.
I mean, we can go on and on about it, but here is so important, and you need to protect it. I mean, Grace, tell us a few exercises, because I don't think it will be incomplete if you don't help people. Tell them a few exercises how to prime their brain first thing in the morning so they're not going that downward path.
This is the best part for me, and this is why I'm smiling, because one of the things that all of us, including experts and people that know all of these things, I would say that we should learn coping mechanisms, how we're able to. Life most times is a daily, it comes with a daily challenge. One other definition of mental health is our ability to cope with stressors. And what this means is life cannot guarantee you that it won't come with one challenge or the other. But what is guaranteed is how you handle it. First things first, The brain loves to capture memories, beautiful data to help them with their brain. So I was talking to someone this morning and I said that, went for a walk in the morning and I saw very beautiful things. I'm in a new city that like I told you, I came for work, and then I just saw some lovely things. I was just carried away. I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. So that's number one tip. Take yourself from your comfort zone. Take yourself from the familiar. Move around. Learn new things. You start dying when you stop learning. Learn new things. You can read good books. You can renew your mind. So we're not saying that some of the, especially comes from the thoughts, what we've been programmed with. So the only thing you can do is to renew your mind. And this is a daily goal. Like I wrote it somewhere today that the renewal of the mind should be a daily goal. So the first thing, I'm sure you've heard it a million times, and it's the truth. When you hear something, once something becomes a cliche, it's because it works. Mindfulness is another thing. Stay with yourself and listen to yourself. One there is a mental illness that's about different thoughts in your mind, and you're wondering to yourself, what am I thinking about? What's going on in my mind? Where am I getting this particular message from? And then you keep asking yourself these questions. At the end of the day, what you get to discover is all those voices in your head. They come from things that you expose yourself to. So mindfulness, meditation, and solitude is what would help you bring all of those things together, where you're asking yourself, somebody says you're not good enough, and you have taken that, you are binging on that particular statement, something that's obviously not true. So in the place of mindfulness, you're able to take some of those whispers, those words that you heard from whoever that was trying to put you down. When you gather all of them together, you'll be able to squash all of those voices because they are not the truth. Then, thirdly, journaling is something that works like magic. Journaling in the mental health space is also known as brain dumping. Like if you find it hard to talk to someone, if you don't know how to talk to people when you're going through something, the one thing you can do is to journal your thoughts, and then after journaling, you can now find out, what you can do about it. Three tips now. Number one, go out, learn new things, seek, read. Number two, mindfulness, meditation, solitude. And thirdly, journaling. And last but not the least, my favorite. Now, the beautiful thing about us human beings, we are connected, our mind, body, spirit, soul, all connected. So what you do for A affects B. So when you exercise, when you do things that would help you physically, it will also help you mentally. So those four tips are things that they're practices that don't fail. When you do all of these things, it would help you to have a clear mind, to be able to rationalize when certain things come to play in your life. So it's all about, knowing when to sit down with yourself and handle stressors. You don't panic when life throws a challenge. You are mentally fit enough to deal with anything that life throws at you. So those are my tips, and I'm sure you may have one or two to add before we call it a day.
Oh yeah. Like you said, mindfulness, very important. Sometimes, when I was younger, I used to eat food, and my brother would always tell me, like, when you're eating food, nobody can disturb you, because I was mindful, you know. Or when I'm watching a movie, I'm being mindful. right? And what you said, meditation doesn't necessarily mean you just have to sit in silence and focus on your breathing like most people tell you. Meditation could be something you like doing, walk in the park, right? Or
Yeah,
staring at a flower, or listening to your favorite song, or
that's right.
speaking to your loved one. It could be your girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, child, parent, whatever it is. That is meditation too, because you're
Yeah.
in that space, in that zone,
Mm.
right? Yeah. I love water. I love being in water. So when I go in water, I feel, or it could be the clothes you wear. Like when I sometimes I'm not feeling correct, I quickly go and change my clothes. Clothes also have vibrations, frequencies. Certain materials have vibrations and frequencies. Like recently, I've started wearing more light colors. I've been wearing more linen. Linen is supposed to be the best material for vibration.
Mm.
I've been, for example, if I don't shave for 2 3 days, maybe I'm not feeling good. My mind's like, oh, I feel lazy and all, and suddenly I just go shave and I'm like, boom, I feel alive again. you know it could be the smallest thing, but also, like I said before, sometimes it could be a chemical imbalance in your mind. You're missing
Mm.
that endorphin or dopamine, whatever it is, right? Figure it out.
Mm.
Go ask a specialist, why am I feeling this? Maybe you're low on your iron. I don't know, I'm not the doctor, but go ask someone. Oh, look, my wife has been having shoulder pain for so long, like also a month. She did nothing. The other day I called her up, and she's in Canada, and I screamed at her and I was like, what the hell are you doing? Right? She calls me like 4 in the morning. She's like, I can't sleep, my shoulder's paining. I'm like, it's your left arm. It's your left arm. You know what that means? Left arm. That I knew it was more than a month, so it's not a heart attack, right? But she went, she got her she got her x-rays and everything else done, and the doctor's like, okay, this is the issue, but we need more tests. But you see, you got to be careful, right? And that
Yeah.
pain was affecting her mental health
Yeah. Of course.
because you're so distracted, right? And my wife is a focused person. She's the most disciplined person I met in my life, right? She's disciplined to the core. Like, she has timetable for everything written down, everything has alarms. Like, wow, I've never seen anyone like that, even for an event that's going to take place a year later. She has weekly alarms for that. Can you imagine? I've never seen anyone as disciplined. But when you are not well, what happens? Right?
Mm.
You're not well, you're disciplined, you want to be disciplined, but you're not well, and that screws your mental wellness
That's right.
because you're not performing to the best of your ability. There's so many reasons we can go after. But the point is, there's so many ways to do it. Figure it out. Don't wait. Don't The worst thing is to do is wait. And
Wait.
I love what you said, mind dumping, journal. That is a
Mm.
huge one. And the simplest journaling is, what are you grateful for?
Mm.
I always have this exercise about write 200 things, and you think it's difficult. Believe me, it's the easiest thing to do. You'll be
Yeah.
so happy when you realize, oh my God, I have so many things to be grateful for.
Mm.
Just yesterday I saw a video at dinner, and the guy's like, we live in one of the greatest times in the human history. We don't have to hunt for food. We don't, electricity's at our doorstep. We can send a message, we can do video calls. And yet we are like complaining, and we're like, life is this. And he's like, I just don't understand. So gratefulness, I think, is one of the big ones when you journal. I mean, mind dump what's going on in your head, but to change that vibration, the smallest thing. I mean, look at you and me. We're in two different countries.
Continents. We're in
Technologies,
two different continents.
yeah, two different continents. We're going live at the same time. The video goes across the world. We help people to have an aha moment, right? I mean, think 50 years ago. Think 50 years ago. Just like so many years back, we didn't even have hot showers.
Yeah, true.
Like how much, how fast, how things have changed, and yet people are not. The more people are getting.
Yeah, build communities, be social, beyond social, beyond your phones. Connect with people. That's a huge one. Connect with people. Connect with human
Exactly.
beings.
Social is so important. Even if you can't do it physically, if you are part of an online community or, whatever it is so important. Like I live here alone in China. I don't have my family around. I go visit my speaking club every Saturday. Keeps me alive. Now I have
Yeah.
English Corner every Sunday. You know, 2 hours of my time go there. Everybody gets to practice their English. They feel happy. I also kind of feel good because I'm helping them practice their English. Okay. It's so important.
Yeah, we can go on and on and
On
on.
and on. Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we can also talk about, something related to this because we want to go all round, go, what from the topic. So general, overall, the relevance of overall health. So we've talked about physical, talked about mental. I'm sure next week we're going to be talking about spiritual. Yay.
Yes. And I think that is the most important of
Yeah.
all. But we're going to leave that for next week. And it was such a great conversation, Grace, as always, right? For those of you watching or live, do leave comments. If you had an aha moment, do share it with us. Hashtag replay. If you watch the replay, please don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and spread, the link of this video to anybody you think it's going to help. Once again, thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much, Grace. Bye bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.